Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon Se, Samvad Sarokar News, Organ Donation India Foundation and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is a very, very important and relevant topic, and that is prevention of sexual harassment in India. But before I will go through the topic, I would like to inform you that today India is celebrating the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, born on 23rd January, and it marks the birth anniversary of him, who is known for his immense role in India's freedom struggle. Popularly known as Netaji among his followers, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose had founded the Indian National Army, Azad Hind Fauj, to fight the Britishers and make India free from their rule. Netaji Bose, who had also served as the president of Congress from January 18, 1938 to April 29, 1939, was known for his courage, leadership skills, and extraordinary oratory skills that inspired many to join the Indian National Army and fight for India's freedom. Media conference with Lal Goel wish you all on this occasion. Now coming to the topic, that is prevention of sexual harassment in India. Sexual harassment is a type of harassment involving the use of explicit or implicit sexual overtones, including the unwelcome or inappropriate promise of rewards in exchange for sexual favors. Sexual harassment includes a range of actions from verbal transgressions to sexual abuse or assault. Harassment can occur in many different social settings, such as the workplace, the home, school, religious places, etc. In 1992, Bhauri Devi, a government social worker in the North Indian state of Rajasthan, was gang raped in front of her husband by higher caste neighbors, angered by her efforts to stop a child marriage in their family. Justice eluded Bhauri Devi. A lower court acquitted the accused of rape and convicted them with lesser offenses for which they served 9 months in jail. The appeal is still pending in the state's high court for last 28 years. But public outrage and activism catalyzed by her ordeal paved the way for new legal protections against sexual harassment in the workplace for millions of Indian women. After state authorities, her employer denied responsibility because she had been attacked in her own field, activists filed a public interest petition in the Supreme Court demanding that workplaces must be made safe for women and that it should be the responsibility of the employer to protect women employees at every step. Acting on the petition in 1997, the Supreme Court of India in Visakhapatnam versus the state of Rajasthan set out the Visakhapatnam guidelines, mandating that employers take steps to protect female employees from sexual harassment at the workplace and provide procedure for resolution, settlement, or prosecution. In 2013, India enacted the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition, and Redressal Act to protect workers in both formal and informal sectors. The act was a significant legislative step for India, but for most women workers in the country, especially those in the informal sector, the law exists only on paper. Government enforcement of this law is so poor that if the attack against Bhauri Devi happened today, she would still be unlikely to get justice. After the global Me Too movement erupted in October 2017 with millions of survivors posting to the social media about their own experiences of gender-based violence, many women in India, mostly from the media and entertainment businesses, as well as others able to access social media, starting using the hashtag to publicize their accounts of abuse. This led to new public scrutiny of high-profile male figures and led to some resignations and legal actions. However, in part because it was led on social media, the Me Too movement in India excluded women from the informal sector where 95% of women are employed. The factory workers, the domestic workers, the construction workers have not even recognized the fact that they are sexually harassed and assaulted on a daily basis. But poverty leaves them no choice. They know whatsoever earning they make is far more important. One woman, a domestic worker, told Human Rights Watch that sexual harassment in the workplace has become so normalized, women are simply expected to accept it. The Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act 2013 is a legislative act in India that seeks to protect women from sexual harassment at their place of work. It was passed by Lok Sabha on 3rd September 2012. It was passed by the Rajya Sabha on 26th February 2013. The bill got assent of the President on 23rd April 2013. The act came into force from 9th December 2013. The statute supersedes the Vishakha Guidelines for Prevention of Sexual Harassment, POSH, introduced by the Supreme Court of India. It was reported by the International Labour Organization that very few Indian employers were compliant to this statute. Most Indian employers have not implemented the law despite the legal requirement that any workplace with more than 10 employees need to implement it. According to a FICCI EY November 2015 report, 36% of Indian companies and 25% among MNCs are not compliant with the Sexual Harassment Act 2013. The government has threatened to take stern action against employers who fail to comply with this law. The act was enacted to ensure that women are protected against sexual harassment at all the workplaces, be it in public or private. This will contribute to realization of their right to gender equality, life and liberty and equality in working conditions everywhere. The sense of security at the workplace will improve women's participation in work, resulting in their economic empowerment and inclusive growth. In India, where a woman is sexually harassed every 12 minutes, 7 years after the 2013 law was enacted, the government has not published any data or information on the functioning or effectiveness of local committees that are responsible for dealing with sexual harassment complaints in the informal sector. A 2018 study by the Martha Farrell Foundation and Society for Participatory Research in Asia, based on right to information, request to 655 districts in the country, found many districts had failed to establish the committees or constitute them in line with the legal provisions. Even where they existed, it is difficult to find any information on websites or public spaces displaying their names and location. The study also found a lack of awareness regarding roles and responsibilities among the committee members, indicating a lack of capacity to handle sexual harassment complaints. Out of 655 districts in the country, 29% replied that they had formed local committee, while 15% had not done so. The majority, 56%, did not respond. By May 2020, even the capital, Delhi, only 8 out of 11 districts had constituted local committee. Ms. Angha Sarpodar, chair of the Mumbai City District Local Committee since 2018, said that by May 2020, the committee had only received 5 complaints, all from the formal sector. She said, I quote, "There is no awareness about the local committee because the central government has not given any money to state governments to spread awareness. This is directly reflecting in low reporting. The implementation of the law has failed in the informal sector. Committee members are not even paid travel fees in some cases. There is no money earmarked in the budget for the implementation of the POSH Act," unquote. And to discuss this very, very important, relevant topic, today we have a very elite, legal luminary, experienced and not too experienced also, young advocates and a former judge with us. I would like to invite my first guest, and she is Honorable Justice Anjana Prakash. Honorable Justice Anjana Prakash is the former judge of Patna High Court. She hails from Rohini, now in Jharkhand, earlier in Bihar, and she is proud to be a Bihari. She is a senior advocate, now practicing in Supreme Court of India. She graduated from Patna Women's College. She joined legal profession in 1982 and worked as junior to her father-in-law, the eminent lawyer, late Braj Kishore Prasad, for almost 10 years. During this period, she was trained in criminal law, which was his area of specialization, and therefore inherited the legacy. She has also had the good fortune of working with other distinguished advocates such as Sri V.R. Manohar, Sri Ram Jethmalani, Sri Rajendra Singh, Sri Shanti Bhushan, which has been a huge learning experience for her and helped to enhance her personality and knowledge of law. In 2004, Patna High Court in its history for the first time designated lady lawyers as senior advocate, and she was one of the two who were designated. In 2009, she was appointed as judge of Patna High Court. She was the sole member from the eastern region of India of a study group invited by the government of United States of America in 1999 to visit USA to study the judicial reforms and administration, juvenile justice, law relating to women, prison administration, laws relating to street children. She retired in 2016. She is a regular invitee by Doordarshan, AIR, and various TV channels for panel discussion, and so on and so on and so on. She asked me not to read the entire profile of her because it will take time. Yes, it will consume my entire show if I will read. She is such a high profile honorable justice as well as senior advocate. And as our young lawyers are there, they might be knowing even the famous case of Nirbhaya, the Supreme Court appointed as amicus for the convicts in that case. Now, welcome, Honorable Justice Anjana Prakash. You are well versed with the, please unmute yourself. You are well versed with the today's topic, that is the prevention of sexual harassment in India. And everybody knows what is the situation. But we would like to know from you the prevention of sexual harassment in India. Honorable Justice Anjana Prakash, please.
It seemed as though you were talking about somebody else. I'm not at all, what is made out on paper. I am just an ordinary lawyer now, practicing in the Supreme Court. And Mr. Goel, I really appreciate this, that you've taken out facts and figures about how inadequate our laws are with regard to sexual harassment in workplace. What to talk about other spheres? You will remember only recently the Chief Justice of India, he was accused of having sexually assaulted a female employee. And then it was learned that there was a committee even in the Supreme Court.
Oh, and what our Justice Anjana Prakash is mentioning about the case, everybody knows, the former Chief Justice of India, that he was accused by a former employee of Supreme Court, and he mentioned that it is an attack on the CGI institution. That is a very, very relevant question, whether if this is the situation, and he was acquitted, not acquitted, rather if there was no case made against him, and now he's a honorary MP.
I'm so sorry.
Broadband might not be proper right now because we can't hear you. So, and we want to hear your very important views. So anyway, you please get your things done. I will go to my next guest till that time. Advocate, honorable. Yeah, if you can.
Can you hear me now?
Not properly. It's still the sound is breaking. Please use a mobile network in case if your laptop is not giving that thing. And please rejoin I will be
Please
taking.
go ahead with the next.
Yeah, I'm
Please
going
go ahead with the next.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, now I will like to invite, and it happens, the technical problems happened, although she is in the metro city, that is Delhi, but still, if the problem is there, we can't help. Now I'm going to my next guest, and she is Advocate Kanishka Tyagi. Advocate Kanishka Tyagi is a practicing lawyer and a radio personality. She is currently heading Business Strategies Department of Legum Amicus, a young dynamic law firm based at Delhi. After graduating from Campus Law Center, Delhi University, Kanishka, Advocate Kanishka worked with a couple of law firms in Delhi. She joined Coden Boris, a global law firm, as partner in 2011. As a radio anchor, Advocate Kanishka has been presenting a sports show during major sports events, including Delhi Commonwealth Games, Cricket World Cup 2019, etc. Advocate Kanishka is a regular contributor to law magazines and journals and regular speakers and guest faculty at conferences, seminars, law colleges, and has addressed a wide variety of audiences at various platforms on corporate legal issues. Being a sports enthusiast, Advocate Kanishka has a special interest in sports law and has worked with a number of sports persons, federations, and leagues in sports-related legal issues. Welcome, Advocate Kanishka Tyagi, on our show. Please unmute yourself. Advocate Kanishka Tyagi, now you will be being the sports and you are involved with the cricket. I think you have attended one of my earlier media conference along with Mr. Surinder Khanna, the legend cricketer. You are now going with the opening batsman in the terms of the cricket. So we would like to know from you the prevention of sexual harassment in India. Advocate Kanishka Tyagi, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goel, for those kind words. However, ma'am mentioned, and good morning very much. Good morning, everyone, especially ma'am. Ma'am said that her biodata, her profile read intimidating, but no, it was so inspiring, especially for women lawyers like me and Divya, who's here, and people, every woman lawyer who's listening to us, and every young girl who's listening to us, that she was the first woman to be designated as senior in state of Bihar. That is just wonderful and a great achievement. Keep in consideration of the view that how hostile the general environment in our country, in our society for women is. So thank you, ma'am. I'm honored to be part of this panel along with you. This just gives us an idea that after being independent as a nation for so many years, women take a lot of time to break the glass ceiling. And still, whenever a woman does something considerable, it is seen and deemed as breaking the glass ceilings. So the point is that there are a lot of glass ceilings for us. However, I'm slightly digressing from the topic. The main topic is that sexual harassment of women at workplace. Talking about the topic, as Mr. Goel completely summarized the whole situation, that it was very recently in 2013 a special act was enacted, and only then realization happened on a mass level that we need to take the situation seriously. However, we may talk about law, we may talk about the specific features of the law, we may talk about its implementation, but what we need to talk about more is that what is the general mentality of people in our country, not just workplace, but of everyone. How do we see, still date, after being independent as a nation for so many years, how do we see working women? What is the perspective towards working women, and how are they treated in workplaces? It many a time it happens when a decision to recruit a woman, or a decision to recruit is made, recruit anyone is made, then you have options, then the resources of an employer are limited, and then as an employer you have to decide whether I should appoint a woman employee or should I go with the male employee. But the general understanding or general viewpoint is that instead of appointing a woman, we should rather appoint a man to any position. whatever that position may be, irrespective of the position for which we are hiring. Why that happens? Because there is this general mentality that if we will hire a woman, it will be an additional problem for us. We may face certain kind of difficulties in future if we hire a woman. Firstly, we have to ensure that she is provided with the safe environment. Secondly, if somebody else, not the employer, not the senior management, if somebody else does something which comes within the scope of sexual harassment, then we'll have to deal with all that mess of investigating and we'll have to complain to the authorities, maybe police authority at times. So it is seen as a hassle to recruit women. So that is why still I feel that the number of women working in any sector is very less. And if we talk about number of women in the topmost level, in the higher management levels, in the boardrooms, then that representation is not enough. That representation of women in the CEO level, chief executive officers level is not enough till date. Because right at the grassroots level, the mentality is that we'll obviously go for a male employee rather than going for a female employee, because female employees, so to say, comes with a lot of baggage. Because sometimes what happens, if you're recruiting a young woman, then she may get married, she may leave the job, she may get pregnant. Pregnancy is also seen like a disease, I would say. That's a very harsh word, but it is seen like that, because you have to give paid holiday, paid leave to the woman who's pregnant and who's going to deliver. So that is why I'm talking about these recruitment decisions and the representation of women in working force and the representation of women in boardrooms. Because just to bring home the point, that generally the environment for working women is not very conducive. So let's not go into, I've not even started with sexual harassment. I'm just talking about general environment and general mentality of Indian people towards women who are working. So when that environment is not conducive, we have to look for answers why we are still not able to provide that conducive environment to women for their personal and professional growth. I feel that starts from the very basic grassroots level, and that starts from a family as a unit. When all our families give equal kind of treatment to their children, whether those children are girls or boys, when we start treating them equally, and when the man of the house, the father of the house, starts saving for the education of the woman, for the education of his girl child, rather than saving for her marriage, then I think change will start, and we'll see that some changes, some positive changes may be seen in our society generally. Now, before I go further, I would like to ask Ma'am Prakash if she can now join us, because I would definitely like to hear her thoughts, and all of us would like to hear her thoughts on the issue. If she can unmute herself and just check one more time if her net is
Okay, we
fine.
will just see. Yes, Justice Prakash, please go
I've
ahead.
unmuted myself.
Yeah, please
Can
go
you hear
ahead.
me?
Yes, clearly.
Acha. Actually, you were on a very good point, that even before coming to the point of sexual harassment, let us, examine as to how we see working women. If we are talking about, sexual harassment against working women, first of all, we have to recognize them as working women. I will just give you a recent example. What happened was that the Delhi High Court had stopped virtual courts. Okay. Now, when they stopped virtual courts, some lady lawyers, they filed a petition before the Supreme Court saying that, the hybrid system should continue, because it means, that women lawyers, they are facing so much of a problem. The children's schools have not reopened, which means, that they have to sit with the children and, and undertake that the classes, etc., the online classes. Secondly, if they are caregivers, primary caregivers, they have to ensure that they are, physically safe. So even this, to think that, you had to file a writ for it was, I felt, how can you do this? When I was invited, as a person of the meeting, all that I could say to the Chief Justice was, I think it's a very reasonable thing for a lawyer to say, that this hybrid system should continue. Such obvious things also needs to be, needs to be addressed. Now, this is my problem. People say, that women have gone up, ye itna ho gaya, utna ho gaya, itna independent ho gayi. But fact of the matter is, when it comes, to the actual challenge, all of us, we do not recognize them as a working force, or we do not, recognize them as independent individuals. So you were very right where you came to that, that before we address that, at least let us, realize that women have an agency, their own agency. They have a right to work. They are seen as persons. Unless you see them as persons, nobody is going to, nobody is going to stop the violence externally. Now, for that, just for today's paper, I was looking at the, National Crime Bureau report. It is released on 29/9/2020. It appears, there are average 87 rape cases Delhi in 2019 in Delhi, and 4 lakh cases, more than 4 lakh cases of crime against women. The rise is 7% since 2018. Now, that's a very sizable number, 7% from 18 to 19. And commensurate with this is 30% conviction rate of rape cases in India. Now, if you go, there were other write-ups, which said that 94% of offenders were known to the victim, and the highest numbers are in Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh. Now, when you see, the kind of, one doesn't talk, that is any lower or any higher. But the point is, when you consider Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, and Madhya Pradesh, you also understand, that there is that feudal mindset there in those states, which has continued to linger on. And because of that, there is a huge problem. There is one rape case every 16 minutes. Then another thing that, you see that crimes against women were registered highest in Delhi, that is 12,902. And the second is Maharashtra, 6,509. Now, when we are talking about reported and unreported cases, there is a definite, divide between the psychology of women in metropolitan cities as compared to the other areas. And therefore, this explains that in Delhi, there were 12,000 and something odd cases reported in Delhi, and in Maharashtra, 6,519. So when you look at this, you think, that when you look at the figures, you think that there is no sexual assault in rural areas. But let me tell you, as a lawyer of 27 years who practiced in Bihar, most of the cases that were reported, of rape were from rural areas, not from, from urban areas. Now, what does this explain? What do these figures tell you? That actually, the urban class is still hesitant to go to the courts because it means, something. It means a loss of reputation. The way women look at themselves or the family looks at them in urban spaces is very different from the way women are looked at, in rural areas. Here, what I felt was, that in urban areas, women are gendered. That if, a woman is raped or there has been a sexual assault, families will not go out and speak to you. They will not, speak for you because they think, that ek baar chala gaya, so your reputation is gone, everything is gone. Matlab, the woman has become unchaste, it will be difficult for her to get married, etc., etc. So the reporting is also with the baggage. Now that baggage, where do we get this mindset from? And this is, the point of attack. How do we stop it? We have to stop this mindset, which treats us, as not as persons, but as objects, which have stereotypes. So a male has a stereotype, or the society has a stereotype of a woman who's expected to behave in a certain manner. But she's not, anything less of that. So the bar which is set for a woman is so high that no one but, Durga ji and, Lakshmi ji and Saraswati ji, they would be able to achieve it. Anything less, is the woman is, is not up to mark. So this is, the way the society has trained itself to think, when you talk about women. So a woman, suppose, and I'll give you a very small example. Suppose if a woman is living, in a joint family and she is feeling oppressed, in a small house, she's feeling oppressed and she wants her independence. She wants to set up her own home, a separate home, which, the husband can afford, she can afford. But then immediately she is known, as a housebreaker, as a home breaker. Why? Because the bar that has been set for the woman is, no matter what happens, no matter how oppressed you feel, how stifled you feel, how suffocated you feel, you are supposed to just carry on. Just carry on till such time as you die. Now, this is not something which is peculiar to India. I was watching the serial you must have seen on Netflix, The Crown. It has absolutely similar, situations. This Margaret, the Princess, Queen Elizabeth's sister, who was, not on good terms with her husband and all, she has a complaint against everyone. She says that the society sided with my husband, even though he was in the wrong. And since she had her own aspirations, she had her own independence, she had her own character or a personality, people did forgive her for that. So either you conform or you break. These are the only two options for you. So it is not something which is, which is a social construct of purely a feudal or of an underdeveloped nation, which, India is termed as, which I don't agree with at all, because I think we are very developed. And, so this is not something which is peculiar to any one country. It's the world over. It's the way people look at women. You may have, the West has different standards, the East has different standards. But at the end of it, who is to bear the brunt of it all? It's the woman. She has to, if she has any failing standards according to the social construct, she's everything short of being an ideal. And that's an impossible situation. Now, when we look at, this is the way the society looks at it. Now, the other way, when you think of the other agency, that is the state, how does it look at it? It was much, much later, I think in 2003, when the law of evidence was changed, and they said that consent was not one plea which could be taken by an accused in a case of rape. My simple query was that why did it take so many years for anyone to understand, that consent, if I give consent, where is the question of me reporting a matter to anyone? Obviously, the act has happened because I did not consent. So can anyone say, that apart from a sexual assault, if you look at some other assault, any other, assault, can this plea be taken that this person, agreed that I assaulted and therefore I assaulted? No, obviously not. So why is it that when it comes to only gendered, constructs, that you think in terms of consent or no consent? So the state also has its own, way of looking at it. And Mr. Goel, you pointed out, how half-hearted the state has been in all this. To think that you make a law, but at the same time, you don't, bring it to its logical end. You do not give money, for social awareness. People don't know what is happening. People don't know, that you have a right, to feel secure in your workplace. So unless there is, some kind of awareness, how do you get to that position? You don't get to that position. The right to work. The first thing is that the right to work, that is gone. The right to feel safe in a workplace, that is gone. Now, where is the state in all this? Where is the state's interference? Where is the court's interference? If the court itself does not form a committee to deal with sexual harassment, if the Supreme Court does not do it, do you think any other office will do it? Obviously no. When you set a standard for yourself, you have to adhere to it. Don't ask the woman to adhere to a standard. You adhere to it. And you were so right, when you said that we have to, education. Education is very important. It's not only in the classrooms. We need educated people even in our homes, you have to start from there. You have to start, how a brother starts looking at the sister. Is the sister asking for a glass of water just because he thinks that she's the sister and he's entitled to have this and she's supposed to give him the water? Or is it on equal terms that she asks because she's younger, sometimes because she's older? Why are these demands made? Why is it, that in every sphere, unless, you say that a boy makes his own bed just as a girl makes his own bed, the boy makes his room tidy just as the girl is supposed to make her room tidy. If the girl is cooking, the boy should also, the son should also be cooking. Unless we, you have this concept at home, you cannot exhibit it. Now, in one interview, somebody asked me whether there was any difference because I was a lady judge and in dealing with things or dealing administratively with my, my other colleagues, etc. I said, no, I don't think so. My brother would have also acted the same way because we've been brought up to think that we were equals to each other. He would never ask me for a glass of water because I was a girl, he would never ask. In fact, I would ask him for a glass of water because we thought we were equals. That's the way we were brought up. So it's a sensitization which begins at home. You have to sensitize people. I have no, I would not feel bad about even putting shoelaces to my husband so long as my husband has this is in head that I'm an equal and I'm doing it as an equal partner. But if it is an act which is feudal, then I will never do it. And that's the way I think, it also starts apart from, what happens is that we lose courage in ourselves. If, you do not, unfortunately, what happens is that repeated battering of your values, it somehow or the other, it belittles you. It belittles your faith in you. So you may start with this, that you think that you're equal, but then when there is constant, battering and there is no support from anywhere, not that you're looking for any support as such, but when you think, your stand is not validated, sometimes you start having doubts about yourself as to whether, it is correct or not. So no matter how strong you are, somewhere along the way, you do have self-doubt because you're a human being at the end of it. And when a human being, I think it is the duty of a fellow human being, not as a male or a female, but everyone to support each other. There again in the Crown, I will say, I was watching this Queen Elizabeth. She comes and she shares Princess Diana, coming and hugging her. And she said, I have no support at all. And I don't know whether I'm right or not. All that I need is a hug. And she comes because royalty is not used to exhibiting, love for each other and all. So she comes and shares it with her mother and his sister and all. And they say, what hug, this, that, they belittle this hug. So she also starts feeling, whether this is the right thing to do, whether she should have hugged back or not. So these basic things, the basic thing that you need to stand up for each other, male or female, whoever. But if somebody is right, I think, you need that, that bond, that emotional bond, that physical bond, that the person is right.
Okay. Okay.
I think for the present, I'm done.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Justice Prakash. And she is
I
very
hope it was okay.
Yeah. She's very forcefully mentioned about the inequality which our civil society is having today. And she mentioned that how if until unless in a home, brothers and sisters or the daughter and the son are not treated equally, then we cannot remove this phenomenon of sexual harassment in the workplace or anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. And that is why it is first thing is that in the family, the father or the mother should see to it that the children should be treated equally, and they should also be giving the same responsibilities. If whatsoever is being given to a daughter, same responsibility should be given to the son and vice versa. And that's why she says that if until unless it will not be done, it's not possible. And she has given one example about this prevention of sexual harassment act. She says there are committees are required. Supreme Court, which is the highest court of the country, they don't have their own committee. And if they can't have the committee, how can they ask anyone to India to have any committee. That is also a very, very wrong example set by our own Supreme Court, whom we always term as the Honorable Supreme Court. Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Anjana Prakash, for giving your such a forceful, with anguish. Yes, we all are angry about all those things which are happening today in our country. Thank you very much. I will come back to you after I will take Advocate Kanishka Tyagi. Would you like to add anything? But
Yes.
please be brief because we have to cover others. Yes, please.
I'll be brief. I just want to add what to what ma'am said. She said, yeah, we have to talk about equality at home. Recently, there was not very recently, I think a year or so back, there was this huge discussion happened because of this incident which happened on live TV. And a superstar was involved and a comedian, a female comedian, whose daughter of a very leading journalist. Uh, a line was used, and please forgive
No,
me.
please don't use that line here.
Yeah,
Because
time
it's,
was used, and the whole society was divided whether that particular line, whether that came within the confines of or within the definition of sexual harassment or not, or any kind of harassment for that matter or not, because a lot of people were of the view that if you are going out, if you are working with different kind of people, male or female, then you have to prepare yourself and you have to be mentally prepared to be, and you have to be open to such kind of conversations in your workplace. And there was a society, a part of society, who were of the view that no, something like this should not be said to any woman. And the female comedian who was involved and her father, they were very angry, and in my understanding rightly so, they were really angry about it, and they protested on social media also. As opposed to that, there were large number of women who supported the actor, who supported the superstar, and they said that if you're going out, just be prepared, which means we are just justifying the kind of behavior we are being meted out in society. If you are that, fine, I'm all for having a laughter at workplace, having a good relationship, a casual relationship with your co-workers, but that does not mean that your co-workers, whether that co-worker is a male or a female, that co-worker can cross the line and say something as demeaning or as insulting that was said. That was certainly, it had sexual nature. That line was not said in, I won't say that it was like you would converse with a male friend casually. No. So that, why I'm discussing it, because see, if society is divided and that society also includes women, if women cannot themselves decide whether this is sexual harassment or not, and whether this should be said or not, and whether you should be prepared for this kind of thing or not, I would say you be prepared. You be prepared to give answer, to fight, to stand for yourself, not be prepared to just take it lying down. So that is my opinion. And we also need to talk about, other than this, how the law has been.
May I add here one thing?
yeah,
You
yes.
know, when people object and say that when she was going out, she should have been prepared for this. You know, here again, the element of consent comes in. You know, that you've consented to it. How have I consented to it?
Right. Absolutely. And also, see, sometimes your relationship is such with your senior. I'm sure the equation between those two were like that, that she could not have retorted back immediately. Because at times you think, okay, should I or should I not? This is live TV. This is a senior actor. A lot of people are watching. So you cannot immediately take that decision whether I should take a stand right now or not. And later, when you realize, you sit back and you just ponder over, and then you realize, okay, I should take a stand. And because of this delay on time, a lot of people oppose that also, that why did you not protest immediately?
Report immediately, yeah.
So that is also one very important point. Now I'll just say very briefly, I'll summarize. We also have to talk that how effective this act has been. I'll again give you my personal experience example here, that whenever I talk to my clients about POSH, most of them say that, Kanishka, why do we need to comply? The penalty is not that much. And let's just leave it to the last. That is the last thing on their mind. So that they assess it in terms of the penalty that is being levied, and not from the larger perspective that affects the women and the society in general. So that's it. There is not much time.
Okay, thank you very much, Advocate Kanishka Tyagi. And she also gave the examples. And I will only add one thing. Whether you are a superstar or anyone, can you use the same language with your sister, with your mother, with your daughter? If you don't, why you are using the same language with other women? That one has to think. And this is the liability and the responsibility of the civil society. We always blame the government, but we should also take ourselves the blame.
Responsibility, yes.
Now I would like to go to my next guest. Thank you very much, Advocate Kanishka Tyagi, for giving your views. Now, my next guest is Advocate Divya Goel. Advocate Divya Goel is the partner of Legam Amicus at New Delhi. After successfully completing her professional qualifications from Institute of Company Secretaries of India, she worked with the Company Secretaries firm in New Delhi, where she got extensive exposure in structuring of business, corporate and commercial advisory, and secretarial and other regulatory and legal compliances. She did her law from Delhi University. She subsequently, along with other partners in India and UAE, co-founded full-service corporate legal law firm Legam Amicus at New Delhi and expanded her practice base to include real estate, POSH, and other litigations. Advocate Divya has extensively represented corporate clients before district courts, high court, national company law tribunal, and handled various matters, including recovery matters, criminal complaints, company and insolvency applications, and several other matters. She has executed and advised both foreign and domestic companies on transactions related to private equity investments, real estate, acquisitions, corporate restructuring, arrangements, commercial contracts, and secretarial matters. Advocate Divya has served as external members on internal committees of various corporate houses under POSH Act. Welcome, Advocate Divya Goel. You have already heard our honorable judge and Ms. Anjana Prakash. You have already heard Advocate Kanishka Tyagi, and now we would like to know from you the prevention of sexual harassment in India. Advocate Divya Goel, please.
Hello, everyone. I'm so delighted, and thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Kanishka, for your views. It is an honor to be a part of this event. So, ma'am has just discussed how is society behaving.
Just excuse me. Just push your screen bit away from you. Your head is cutting. No, now it is fine. Yes, go ahead. We will say live telecast, and I think everybody would like to see your full face. Yes, please go ahead.
So, ma'am has just discussed how is the society behaving, the general mentality, how are we treating the women, and of course, Kanishka has also discussed about the mentality of the employers while appointing women employees, and a lot of general aspects. So, before coming to the features of the law, the Prevention of Sexual Harassment law, I would really want to share an experience, my personal experience, if you all allow me. I am a mother of a 9-year-old son. So I have seen thoughts of the people, ma'am, as you said that we should sensitize and we should spread the awareness and we should start from our own home. So I've seen my son's friends, mothers, they generally tell their boy children that, you know, you just never hit a girl, never talk, never be rude with girls. So my question to everyone, to every listener, to everyone is, why do you have to already keep that into your son's mind that the girl is someone who is not equal to you and who is less powerful than you? Or, I mean, this is another way of telling your boy that a girl and a boy are not equal. They are not equals. So this is one thing that I always that always bothers me, that, you know, young parents like us, I think we are the one who can really make change by, you know, telling your children you are equal. Okay, I would always tell my child, do not hit anyone, instead of saying do not hit a girl or do not be rude to her. So there are few things that are always in my mind. So as I can see, there's the time is limited for all of us. So I would really talk about some specific features of the law. As we all know that the Indian legal vision drastically changed when the Sexual Harassment of Women at Workplace Prevention, Prohibition and Redressal Act became law. And that was the first piece of legislation that specifically dealt with workplace sexual harassment of women. And before that, there was no specific law dealing with sexual harassment. Why I'm talking about the law is that I think we have discussed general aspects, general behavior, the mentality. I just thought there is some need of talking about the act as well. So this legislation was first time observed by Supreme Court, as we all know, in Vishaka and others versus state of Rajasthan. And the Supreme Court also incorporated that the basic principles of human rights are also been not followed, which are given in Constitution of India and various articles like Article 14, 15, which is about the discrimination based on that there should be no discrimination based on race, caste, sex, place of birth, and then Article 21 also, which gives everyone a right to life and personal liberty. And also, before I go further, I would really like to mention that the main ingredient for this is the word no. We all have heard this, we all have watched the movie Pink. And yes, the word no has its own significance, it means something. And I would really want to reiterate that no means no. And we all have to and we should respect that word, that feeling, the consent. And that is what I think is the main ingredient of this law. And also, this law, POSH, mandates every employer to provide a safe working environment, which shall include safety from persons coming to the workplace. Now, the question is, what is sexual harassment? So, I think, according to me, any act becomes sexual harassment when it is unwelcome by a woman. So I will not restrict it to physical contact. It is not only when you are physically touching any woman. It is like passing a comment. It is sending an unwelcome email. And also there are many instances which people don't even know that it is a sexual harassment, though it is. Like if you are sending messages or emails at a time which is not comfortable with that girl, with that woman. So that is also a part of sexual harassment. And now people ask us, we have been asked many a time that who, where, and how can complaint be filed. So for me, it is not on it. The act also gives this right to any aggrieved woman, plus any relative of the woman, any co-worker, or any person with the aggrieved woman's consent can file the complaint. And also, if the woman is not like for any reason she is not of a stable mind, then her guardian, her doctor, or anybody whose consent has the woman to whom the consent has been given can file the complaint. And also a very interesting thing here is, what if, so the law has mandated that the complaint should be in writing, but we always get a question that what if a woman cannot write, if she's not literate enough to give the complaint in writing. So here the act has given this responsibility to the employer, to the internal committee, to help her, to assist her in filing the complaint. And when once the complaint is filed, here comes the most crucial phase of the process. That is the inquiry process. Before starting the inquiry, there's one very important thing that the committee, the internal committee, has to follow. That is the principle of natural justice, which is basically classified into two broad principles. One, we all know that the accused has right to know what are the allegations against him, and everybody has the right to be heard before case is decided against him. Ma'am, I would also like to speak about it that there are instances, since we are practicing in this field, I have assisted for the internal committees, that there are instances where women are also taking advantage of this law, because there are few issues that one, that it is like women think that I can, make a complaint and I will always be heard first, and the respondent will not get chance to say his to keep his point there. And also, the a man does not get any benefit of this law. If there are instances where men are also getting sexually harassed, but they have no benefit of this act. So there are instances where it has been taken, the women are taking advantages of this act. So going ahead, there is another option to the complainant, that the complainant has the right to conceal, but monetary compensation cannot be the basis of it. And also, um, then ICC, the internal committee, also has the power to pass an ex parte order by giving 15 days notice before passing such order. If any of the party does not appear, then ICC has the right to give the order. And before ending it up, I would really like to summarize with what I think are the flaws arising from this law. Is I think most of the unorganized workplaces do not have an ICC in place. And the companies also should concentrate on how to create awareness of what is sexual harassment and how it is a legal offense. And again, I would like to repeat that there is a need to sensitize or making people realize what sexual harassment is.
Okay. Thank you. Want to mix any point, or shall I? Thank you very much, Advocate Divya Goel, for giving the technicalities of this act, and she has explained who can make the complaint, what is the procedure, etc. And she has also raised one point, and that is that this act can be misused by the women also. Thank you very much, Advocate Divya Goel, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my last guest, and he is Advocate Shivang Bhargav. Advocate Shivang Bhargav is a lawyer practicing arbitration, criminal and civil litigation at Delhi and Mathura. He did his schooling from the Sindhya School, Gwalior. He did graduations from National Law University and Judicial Academy, Assam. There he was the Joint Secretary of Student Bar Council. He also participated in William Coach via Moot Coach competitions at Vienna and Hong Kong. He went for a student exchange to Overstry School, United Kingdom. He marched on 26 January parade at Rajpath, New Delhi. Welcome, Advocate Shivang Bhargava. Before I will go ask you, I'm really happy that you have marched past on the 26th January, which is 3 days away now. Advocate Shivang Bhargava, you have heard our Honorable Justice Sanjana Prakash. You have heard the Advocate Kanika, Advocate Kanishka Tyagi, as well as Advocate Divya Goel. And they have given the views about the topic. Now, we would like to know from you the prevention of sexual harassment in India. Advocate Shivang Bhargava, please.
First of all, a very good morning to one and all present here. And first, I'll take a moment to thank you, sir, for giving me this opportunity. And I'd like to further extend the courtesy to the seniors present here who have definitely given me a deeper insight into this particular topic. And I'll also like to take a moment to sympathize for the cause. And being the only male member other than the host in the panel, I should take a moment to sympathize. And to the intensity where we can see the ferocity all the women have within them and within the panel, it has to be brought forward from a male perspective. There are a lot of things which we need to take care of. And I'd like to also thank such discussion forums as well, because they give a platform where people, it can actually outreach people and they can also learn from these discussions. So through my monologue, I like to take, basically I'll take a more social legal approach, as everyone in the panel, all the learned people have already taken a very sociological approach to it. But as we know that all the root cause and all the seeds which are confined within the fallacies of our society, it comes down to basically it boils down to the roots, where at the grassroots level when we talk about uh, there is so much indifference when we come to the bottom line of this. Yeah, first of all, I'd like to take a little historical depth where which would make us realize how which come to a we have come a mile away and we have at least 1,000 miles to go. Like in 1948, the United Nations Declaration for Human Rights was the first document to assess the equal rights of men and women. So it's in when we talk about it, which brought forward the Article 14 and 15 of the Constitution to us. But during this tenure of 70 years, we think it's just a 3 generation phase where majority of India is still in the first generation of education. So how do you expect a constitutional right which is defined and guaranteed to you, but does it actually sits well with the people mentality or not? For that, I think we need to give a lot of strength to the system, because other than system there is nothing which we can do. There is, rather than that, like all the learned people have already said, through education and through home and through surrounding, but do we actually have that environment which is progressing in that direction? That is still a very big anomaly. And when you talk about, and I think we are at a very critical juncture at this particular era of 21st century, because as I just pointed out, with 3 generations of rights being determined and the first generation of education at many place, with globalization influxing in our particular, which has recently taken place in the last 25 years. So with globalization coming in, and so basically there's so much cross cultural pollination where for a from a country which is trying to curtail female feticide, and when and then we talk about how a woman an inappropriate comment is or lewd comment is being made on her attire or her dress. So we have to bridge such a big gap from female feticide to making a lewd comment on a women's dress in a workplace. It's a very, very big gap. And in order to set the tone right, in order to create a safe and hostile free environment for women, we need to create strength in the system, and I would say with immediate effect. Because when we talk about, as sir you were trying to point out Vishakha's case, it happened 16 years back. It happened during, like, it happened 1992, yeah. And then you talk about these guidelines and then the Porsche Act coming in. It took almost so much time. It was almost a gap of 20 years. Then how do you say that that's such a critical issue which was pushed forward with the Porsche Act, which was just happened because of the Nirbhaya gang rape case, and with all these pressures coming in that the government had to take an action. It was not a willful decision to make those changes in the society, but which came through a sudden political pressure which was building around the nation. So it doesn't happen. The sociological changes don't happen in a sudden manner like that. Suddenly, it has to be in a progressive approach. You cannot just put up a system which is very falsified. And it's an irony that it came out after so many years. And when you talk about sexual harassment, it was introduced as a term within itself, which came in with the criminal law amendment 2013. So before that, it's a relatively very new term in the statutes and in as an act itself. So my views, then I like to move away from how we can do it is has to be through the system which is given more power. And then when we talk about this act is nothing but a poorly designed disaster. First of all, as I'm sorry to say it this way, but when we talk about all the learned people have been very focused on the formal sector, where I think they have made a very critical points, which obviously are very sound. but I like to reflect upon an angle which is towards the informal sector, because that is where 95% of the women workforce actually rests. So you have to address with like I'll take a moment first to reflect on informal sector, because formal sector has a lot of education, and with the Me Too movement and so many movements going around, I think they have a voice to portray. But when we talk about the informal sector, they have no redressal forum. There is nothing for them to approach. There's so many fallacies. It's actually a, when you talk about people working in formal sector, there's so many. They are basically agricultural household females who are working there. Then you talk about so many places in formal sector that it is very critical space to maintain, and there is no nothing. When we talk about, sir, as you were pointing about the basically the RTI of the Martha Farrell Foundation, even I went through the same report, the human right report, and it's a disaster. There are 56% didn't even respond. There is no constitution of local bodies. So a women who have already been who's already a part of a weaker economic section because of working in the informal sector, and then there is so much pressure, as Anjana already pointed out, that uh, that there's so much pressure on women on both the sectors. But when you talk about economically weaker section, the informal sector, they are taking up such a harsh step at the first place to step out of the house and to work. But and then they might, if they come forward with such allegations, they might have to sit back home. There's such a big uh, that particular class, this section of the society needs more attention right now in the immediate future than any other section. And they may have to quit their job. They are the one who are the most victimized, stigmatized, and in every way, in every sphere, it becomes very problematic for them, as far as I can understand. Obviously, my vision might not have that much depth as of other females on the panel, but that's how I see it. There is no redressal mechanism present to them. And when we talk about the statute, let's boil down to the posh statute. There is very there is constituting local committees. There are no local committees present as of this moment in majority of the cities. Talking about, as you were pointing out, the Mumbai municipal had 12 cases in 2 years. So when we talk about reporting, there is nothing. And problem doesn't lie with there is no approachability when we talk about women coming to the system. There is no system, no basic platform for them where it can be actually addressed. Law should be something which should be at disposal. It should be not something which women make an attempt for. It should be at their disposal, because it's such a critical topic to address. The only way I can see it is through giving more systematic progress to this particular act. And this act has so many fallacies. But then coming to the formal sector, there are no guidelines, no trainings. Like, we're talking about in formal sector, so many people have already talked about, but there is such an anomaly. Like, employer is the one who nominates the committee. You cannot just simply sit and presume that somebody, the employer, he might be involved in a sexual harassment case, he might be doing it, he can strategically can influence, which is a very quid pro quo basis when you talk about sexual harassment. He might be the one who might be instigating. And can you give so much power to an internal committee where a person who is nominating people is the same person who might be doing it? So can you just simply presume that personal sitting at the top might be a very good person? He's full of character. How can you simply do it? That is, and then specifically, I'd like to draw attention to the section 14.
Advocate Bhargav, you have to please be brief. Time is limited.
Okay. I'll just sum it up.
Yeah.
So, fine. So I'm coming to the statute part. I have two more points to add. The conciliation. When somebody, like, how can you simply make an attempt to get justice cannot be muscled just by the way of conciliation. You cannot conciliate where a sexual harassment has taken place. It's a criminal wrong. It has to be addressed in that manner. There's no need for conciliation. It has to be action based. And second thing, I'd like to draw attention to section 14, which is for women can have repercussions in case of a wrongful and malicious complaint. How can you there are many cases in our courts as well where there might not be sufficient evidence to prove what might have a victim might have gone through. So can you just put blatantly, and can you put the women in that position who is already a victim, and you might systematically move her out of the job, or you can probably, it's just outrageous in a lot of ways. So
This is a very good
I
point
think
you're making. This is a very good point you're making, that just because you've not been able to prove your case doesn't mean that the allegations were false.
False. Yes.
exactly.
yes.
This is a very good point.
And I think with all these incorrigible issues in place, we have nothing to defend in this act as particulars to the constitutional ethos. That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much, Advocate Shivang Bhagwat. Sorry, I have to interrupt because of the technical hitches, so the time has been confused. But you
Sorry,
have made a
sir.
point,
It's
and
okay, it's okay.
our Honorable Justice has also appreciated the point which you have made, and that's why we want these types of media conferences where even we involve the young youth should come forward and give their views. I'm sure that our viewers are going to get benefit and enlighten what is they have listened from the Honorable Justice and young lawyers also. Now my question goes to Honorable Justice, although it's a very difficult situation for me to ask a question to a judge. Always the judge always asks the question. Now question to you is, please unmute yourself. The
Yes.
former Chief Justice of India, CGI, was accused of having sexually harassed a former Supreme Court staffer in an open court. While defending himself, the CGI said the institution of the CGI was under attack. Do you agree with this view of him, that if he says they take this point, it means tomorrow anyone will say that this woman is attacking the institution or the nation by putting this complaint? Do you agree with this view?
I do not agree at all, because the complaint that the staffer had made was not against the institution. It was against the individual act of a person, of a man. So how can you interpolate, or how can you identify a person with an institution? And Mr. Bhargav was very right there when he said, when the top of the institution is bad, how can you say, that all the power will vest in him and that he will take a fair decision? It's exactly the same thing. How do you presume such a thing? And first of all, an individual cannot impersonate for an institution. They are two totally distinct personalities, and you have to see them as such. So I do not agree with that.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Justice Prakash. Now my question goes to Advocate Kanishka. In Hauri Devi case, all accused with only 9 months imprisonment released. Appeal of state is still pending after 20 years of incident. When she will get justice? And I was told, means I have studied, I can't vouch for it, but at one place it was said that only one hearing took place in High Court. Now, my question to you is, do you agree with these types of thing you are talking about, the prevention of sexual harassment case? A case which has, because of that case, today we are talking and discussing about this POSH Act. If she could not get, after 20 years, 8 years of the incident, how today anyone will get any justice? Do you think it is a wrong thing from the point of the courts? It's not. We can't blame the accused in this because of the victims, because the victim has nothing to do. She is still alive. She remembers each and everything, but she has not got justice. Whose fault is this, Advocate Tyagi?
Well, that speaks volumes about us, because firstly, it took us a heinous crime to, take notice of something which is apparent, which is everywhere. Women are being harassed everywhere, as Shivang pointed out very well, that it exists in unorganized sector also. So, secondly, it also speaks volumes about us because still so much time has lapsed and still till date she has not got justice. And now compare this to one odd incident which might have happened in one small office in city of Delhi. So how can you expect someone to get justice from an internal complaints committee which has been constituted by the employer himself and uh, which may be investigating the offense which has been allegedly committed by someone from the senior management? How can you expect to get justice in such a situation when Bhavri Devi hasn't got justice till date from honorable courts?
I will just add one thing. Recently, Honorable Supreme Court, one of the senior judge has mentioned in a media person's bail that justice to be delivered fast, and he has mentioned very clearly. And you, everybody knows. I would not like to name why, because he's a man of means. Bhavri Devi is not man of means. She is not. She is not having money. So there's a. It means our justice is only for those who can afford. Justice is not for the poor. We must all agree, although you all are advocates, but you must agree that justice is not for them. And that's why the Supreme Court, even the Honorable Supreme Court, works day and night to give the justice those who are very influential people, but they are not bothered for a case like Bhavri Devi. I am sure that after today's media conference, one of you or someone who is listening this media conference should come forward and file a case in the Supreme Court and ask them to take up this matter. Otherwise, what is the use of talking about posh? It's a eyewash, from my opinions only, from my side. Thank you very much. And now my question goes to Advocate Divya Goel. Many politician blames, and which is, I'm not saying, you can search on Google or you will see in the media, that women instigate men for sexual harassment by wearing revealing clothes, going to pubs, smoking, drinking and dancing. Do you agree? Please unmute.
So here I don't know how to say and what to say. See, it is a clear mentality, and also I'm not pointing out to anyone or for anyone. It's how you have been brought up. It's how you think. I also mentioned this while we were discussing about the act. It's not about any act, it's not about any law, it's about your own mentality. And whosoever says this, I really, really want to console them. I feel for them that this is how they have been taught. It's not their fault. This is how their parents, their families, it's all mentality. I really do not want to comment on.
Advocate Goel, I am disappointed by your answer. I will tell you very frankly, no. The women are more than 48% in this country. Why you all aren't united? What this NCWs and all those state women commissions are doing? Nothing. They all are puppets of the political system today. If you people will say like this, why not the person, whosoever he is, how mighty he is, if anybody comments about women, about this, their attire, about their drinking or smoking or eating habits, he should be prosecuted immediately. Why no one is passed coming and going to the court for this reason? I don't understand. Why to blame the society or the family? Or no family will teach the son to do like this. It is the son with the environment created by whosoever has created.
Sorry, I would really like to add something. I'm so sorry to interrupt you, but see, directly or indirectly, a family is the one who teaches their children. Ma'am, please correct me if I'm wrong. I am not
I
saying.
think you're apologizing. I'm sorry to say, but I think you're making apologies for him. I would not say that. That man, whoever has said it, he has said it in his full maturity. And to have said it, it shows, the stereotypical images that he has of a woman. What makes a woman who's smoking a cigarette, say no to a person? It's again the same thing. As I said, that consent at one time was a very easily available defense for a person. Again, that means that I have given consent because I'm smoking. What kind of mentality is this? And somebody went on to say, I think, it was the chairperson of the commission, the Commission for Women. Imagine what an ironical situation. And she said, if this person had not gone out, she would not have been raped by the priest. So the women should have been locked up. I would say, counter my counter argument is, if the man had not gone out, this priest had not gone out, he would not have raped the woman. It's as simple as this. You have to own up. You have to take responsibility. And nobody else can take responsibility for you.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Advocate Divya. I'm not saying anything against you, but
You're
saying,
a very mild person, Divya. You're a very mild person. Come and stay with me. Come and relax. Then you will know what.
Anyway, thank you very much, Justice Prakash, for giving your views. Now, my last question to Advocate Shivang Bhargav. As Advocate Divya Goel has mentioned about the misuse, I am asking you, POSH Act is also misused by women. Do you agree?
I think in certain scenarios it might be getting misused. There obviously have been certain cases of it being misused. And I'd like to add on to one more thing. She pointed out that this particular act is it says women right in its word, but it has to be a gender neutral act. When you talk about United Nations Human Rights Declaration, which gives
Yes.
source to all these acts, our constitutional basis lies it to be in a very gender neutral manner, because with the coming in the coming times, when we are trying to rephrase it and we are trying to build a road forward for this particular act, we have to take all these manners into consideration. And sorry, I just lost the point about the question again. What were you
The
asking?
question
Sorry,
was, POSH Act is
like
also
to
misused
reiterate
by
to it.
women. Do you agree?
It does. Actually, it was
Okay.
one point lingering in my head, so I want to bring it out. I think
Thank you very much.
it is.
Although,
No, I would like to add something to this.
please.
I would like to add something to this. Usually such arguments are made only when it is for protection of certain persons, like scheduled castes, like women. They'll say that it is being misused. But aren't murder cases being misused? Aren't, offenses, other criminal offenses being misused? They're all being misused. We all know it. So whenever it comes to protection of a certain class of people, this kind of an argument is made. Whereas my counter argument is that all laws are misused, all cases are misused.
Yes.
Exactly. I like to support ma'am on this.
Yeah.
Whoever
A
is
cross case in a
mischievous.
murder.
Yes, I know for a fact that cases are misused, false cases are filed.
Yes.
Definitely.
False cases.
From
It's not only for
angling it
protection
from
of
a
women.
And now
There
from
is
a
an
murder
argument,
perspective.
and this is only to deprive a certain class of protection.
Even nowadays, even the sedation case have been misused. So thank you very much. And today you have seen how anguished, and they should be. Why not? The women has to be anguished, because this law is a eyewash. When nobody is taking care, even the first case of Bhamari Devi, she has not got the justice. How we expect that justice will be given? And how Honorable Justice has mentioned that even in the metro cities, nobody wants to make the complaint because they are afraid of their social stigma is there. So when we have this type of thing, when the lacunas of laws are there, then what is the use? I think the only answer is the women should understand their own power. And the power is they are more than 48% in population. If they come and participate in the policy making, this is only possible if they elect more and more women MPs or MLAs, those who are involved in policy making. Then only in India we will have some remedy for the sexual harassment. Otherwise, we will be doing these types of conferences again and again, and the same answers will be given. We will not have any hope even after crossing that tunnel. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV, News Gaon se Samvad Saroka News, as well as it was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And our endeavor is to bring to you every day very, very serious topic. But tomorrow being a Sunday, and the Sunday is for edutainment, that is educational entertainment. And tomorrow media conference with Lal Goel is Saj Sangeet, and our chief guest or the chief musician or the singer, not the singer, I will say, he's a Mr. Ritesh K. Narayan, renowned instrumentalist from Patna. He's joining, and tomorrow he will be playing 3 types of instruments and giving out the Bollywood classical old songs on the instrument. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Honorable Justice Anjana Prakash. Thank you very much, Advocate Tyagi. Thank you very much, Advocate Divya Goel. And thank you very much, Mr.
you.
Shiva,
I really
Advocate Shivang
enriched
Bhargava.
by this discussion.
Thank you very much. We all are. I think you have enlightened. Thank
And
you all.
don't take offense. Don't take offense.
No, no.
Goel, don't take offense, okay?
No, no. Thank
You're
you very
like a
much.
child to me.
Thank you very much, all the viewers, for viewing this program. Thank you very much.